Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Well, I'm so happy to be here in Guatemala. It makes me feel like I'm in San Diego, that I'm not even in Central America. And the biggest thing is that, you guys are all beautiful. There's so much beautiful people here. Santiago is trying to convince me to marry someone local and learn Spanish. So I'm sorry, poquito hablo español. So today what I'm going to talk to you guys about is alpha. And what that means is, this saying is the first step towards getting somewhere is deciding that you're not going to stay where you are today. And the reason why I went on this path of going into investments, it's because you guys all have to think about your futures. And I'd highly recommend everybody here today want to be able to start your own family office. Private equity is just one of the arms, right? When you're buying companies and you're doing mergers and acquisitions, or when you're going out there and you're creating a consumer product good and selling it for 10 times more, right? The money's in the multiplier. It's not about just working hard and exchanging your time for money. But that's the big purpose, right? Where you guys make your first $10 million or $100 million, and now you're just making investments and having other fund managers. Involving your kids into private equity and educating them. So for us to come to Guatemala and download all of our knowledge is extremely important. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today and the different opportunities that I see in Guatemala. And at the end of it, I'm going to get my buddy Forrest, and we're going to answer any questions. So start writing down questions, and we want tons of them to come by, okay? So the big things that I see that are very similar to Guatemala and the U.S. So in the 1950s and 1960s in the United States, it's the same thing that's happening right now in Guatemala. More than 50% of the population is less than 30 years old. What does that mean? Increase medium, like the average population is going to make more money, right? So you're going to have the middle class is starting to grow. You have better labor pool. You got more entrepreneurship, people that are a little bit more innovative, and that's what's happening here in Guatemala. I come here and I want to do business with you guys. You guys want to do business with me? That's what I'm talking about. The other thing is infrastructure, right? How can you start doing partnerships with the government, building roads or building toll roads where you're doing public and private, investments together, and you're doing a 60-year toll road, and after that you hand it right back off to the government, making money that way. Or you talk about solar plays or alternative energies. We talked about the rising middle class and entrepreneurship. Everybody in this room is an entrepreneur, right? Because we like to make money. And we're a little psycho because we like to put ourselves through all that pain, right? So the big targets, I think the other one is micro lending. A lot of small businesses need money. So how can you guys pull a bunch of money together, right? Santiago, the entire team, thanks for inviting us out here. But that's what they want to do. They want to educate you guys so that you guys can be part of this movement. Guatemala is the central hub of Central America, period. Right? Like I see it like the New York version in Central America. And that's the opportunity that you guys have. You have micro lending, you have technology, you have manufacturing, you have all these other things. You guys can do mergers and acquisitions in construction companies and sell it to a big private equity fund. Because the bigger the company, the higher the multiplier that you make. So instead of selling it for 2 times of what you profit, now you could sell it for 7 times as much as you guys profit. So how many people here are in construction? Okay, so you guys should be working together, merging each other's companies and package it and sell it. Those days of having 100-year companies is dead. AI is moving too quick. So in my opinion, if I'm not making money within 24 months, then why am I going to do it? Technology is moving that quick. We're not building 100-year companies. We're building 100,000-year families where you have good, strong morals, ethics, core values, education. And that's what I want you guys to really think about. So the question is, I'm giving you guys all this information, how do you get started, right? Forrest talked about, creating your own fund. That's one vehicle. You guys can do mergers and acquisitions and talk to investment bankers. So finding different ways to raise capital is extremely important. And understanding the financial landscape is extremely important. So that's what kind of brings it over here. So you guys could take a picture of this, and I know this poster's in the way. But this is different ways of raising capital. You talk about the non-accredited investors, which in the US they have it. There's less regulated here in Guatemala. But it's anybody that makes less than $200,000 a year or less than $300,000 as a couple. And it works all the way up to a sovereign wealth fund. A sovereign wealth fund is a fund for a country. So you have like Abu Dhabi, or you have like Singapore, or you have like Malaysia. The country is running a fund and making investments, right? You have endowments and foundations. These are like nonprofits that run their own fund to make money to pay for all the employees and different types of initiatives they have. You have smaller institutions and family offices. So you guys should all have a goal of creating your own family office to create legacy, right? How can you get marginal rates to come back to your family? Let's just say you're targeting a 12% return, and you want to keep and retain 8% of that, and you're distributing the other 4% to your family. So if you're doing $100 million in your family, and you're making 12 million bucks, you're distributing $4 million out to your family. It's a fund for your family, and that's what you guys should all be considering doing. So these are all the different ways of raising capital, right? You go through private equity, venture capital. You could raise capital through creating bonds, government programs, grants. But these are the real critical things, and that's what we want to be able to provide to you guys is, how do you start building this wealth? Because, we're all crazy entrepreneurs that make money, but how do you work like the Wall Street guys, like JP Morgan? There's a TV show out there I would highly recommend that you guys all watch. It's called The Titan. It's on Amazon Prime. And it talks about how JP Morgan completely changed the entire landscape. And it talks about the Rockefellers, and it talks about all the major titans in the entire world and how they built the Panama Canal and funded that and paid it with gold. But your kids should understand on how was the Titanic funded? It was through JP Morgan. He was a banker, and his dad was from London. And then after that, he came to the U.S. and New York, and now the United States is the grand hub of the entire world. And now we want Guatemala to be one too, right? Cool? So I'm going to have Forrest come up here, and we're going to answer some questions. You guys can bring me any questions that you guys want about dating, about whatever you guys need, okay? Any questions? Come on, don't be shy. So if you guys could raise your hand, and we'll do a translation. It's okay if it's in Spanish.
How can you start the program?
Okay, well, the best way to get started is you guys could get a hold of Santiago on the team. But really, the best way to do it is that there's a bunch of YouTube videos, and if you guys aren't using ChatGPT yet or any type of AI, just learn about how funds work, right? Funds is a pool of money. Let's just say if I was raising money from all of you guys, and you guys all wrote me a check for $100,000, and we're going to make an investment, right? Understand how that works. Understand how the compliance works, how the securities work, and what type of investments, right? Think about the thesis, like what are you investing in and why, and where are you going to raise the capital? And look for guys and gals that have gray hair and have all the knowledge and build a team up, right? And I see a couple of you guys out there.
You can go to altstreet.com, ALTST.com. It's free, and we have about a dozen or so interviews with people who have managed billions of dollars behind the scenes on Wall Street. So we give away that education. If you are still interested after you watch that, Santiago joined Black Card, for example, and he launched a fund. He learned how to do all of that through this program. So we give away as much information as we can, but when you're ready to go and you start to build your team and you're starting to raise capital, we can help you bring all of that together.
Yeah, because our main purpose here is just to educate you guys. We're not trying to sell anything or anything. Like, we are really here to just contribute back to the country.
100%.
That's a good question. Anything else? Oh yeah, so there's tons of investment opportunities. Like I know that they have some projects that are happening here in Guatemala, like some infrastructure deals that they have, which I'm likely going to get involved with, and some micro lending, and they'll probably invite some of you guys to be on a call or a Zoom call and present some of those deals. But when you talk about investments, there's we're connected with 1,200 fund managers across the entire world. So. Deals in America, deals in South America, Central America, overseas. So there's opportunities for everybody, and that's what I always say is that I would encourage everybody to invest in a private equity fund so you understand how it is, even if it's the minimum check size. Just get involved with it, and that's how you start to learn.
I'm in the very unique position to see a lot of the private deal flow in the United States right now. And it's amazing the innovation that's occurring, from robotics to automation to autonomy. And we're seeing some of the most brilliant minds leverage the technology and the platforms that are available out there today to create new platforms, generational wealth, and things that we won't get into here, but if you're around later at a cocktail party, I'm happy to share a couple of personal stories.
Yeah, and like consumer product goods, right? Like you guys have manufacturing here. How do you create not just a product, but how do you create a brand? Like we're dealing with consumer product goods is like drinks, candy bars, coffee, etc. So I'm working with a brand that did $5 million the first year, and they're projected to do $20 million this year, and planning on selling it to a big private equity fund. Do the research about Casamigos. I think, don't quote me on this, but they did about $20 million of revenue, and they sold for over $1 billion.
The tequila,
See,
right?
the money's in the multiplier, right? Good question. Yes?
If I really want to accelerate the growing of my company, can you help me to find that financial partner?
I won't promise for any obligations, but so we could talk, and I could kind of help you through it. Something I told myself this year, I won't work for free anymore. Yeah, but there's tons of opportunities, and that's the community that they're trying to build out here. Is how can you guys all collaborate together and do business together? It's not a one-way street, right?
Right.
You could connect with somebody, and them and the entire team, like they're building a community, right? And they have high levels of integrity, and that's all good. Yeah.
Is there any type of advice about what kind of business we should try on account, for our country? Or do you have a sort of idea of what type of business would work better here?
What are you an expert at, for example? Start with education? Communication. So start with where you're the expert in the room. Typically, when we have people who come to us at Fund Launch, we start by asking them, what are you, the expert in the room? How do you speak with people where they listen? And then from there, who are your partners who can help you fill out those other three critical fund roles? Capital raising, fund manager, and then you've got the expert investor. So start with where you're an expert. And in this particular market, real estate's an obvious one for me. I think everybody in here invests in real estate at some level, whether you own your own home or your own business. Okay, well, if you're paying rent, is there an opportunity for you to buy the building that you're in so that you're no longer paying rent? You have other people paying rent in the building so that you can become a landlord.
Yes, I think for real estate, like
Scale.
having like an industrial, right, like where people are doing like last mile deliveries is huge. Like I think the younger crowds here, they're looking for rents or they're looking to buy. So if you created condos, I love micro lending here because you could, charge a high interest rate and lend people money that run businesses. Like I think that's the big opportunities. But he's absolutely right. Be a thought leader in your industry. You guys are all experts in something. And you just got to figure out how can you go out there and be on stage and talk about it and feel comfortable about it, right? If you're in communications, if I told you to come talk on there, you'd be like, no problem, right? I'll talk about whatever you want. But always go for the lowest hanging fruit and figure out what type of team you need to build. There's a book out there I would highly recommend all business owners get. It's called EOS. So it's an EOS system, and it'll tell you the complete format on how to structure your business. So that's a good one. Yes.
Hi, I came in representation of one of the universities of Guatemala from the Technology Development Department. And you mentioned that you make partnership with the universities, and we are very interested to develop the skills of knowledge of creating a fund.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there's a very interesting company out in Utah. They created a small incubator, and I encourage university, one university should create their own endowment and raise money to be able to make investments. The second thing is that they should have incubators where they're coming up with innovative ideas, and then you're having the local community invest in it. right? Where you have an investment committee and train them and teach them how to build that business. And I think that that's what we need to do is focus on the kids that are 30 years younger and develop them because they are going to come up with better ideas than we are.
Thank you.
Even though I look like I'm 18, I get it.
And I'm happy to speak with you later and see how we can get Fund Academy education to your university. Last question. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Risk.
Can someone get him a mic, please?
If you can tell us about risk, how do we measure it, how to choose between the funds, right? Something about
Okay, so risk is a very complicated subject, right?
Yes.
But I always look at is that you have to do research on the team. How many times have they done that project before? And how does it compare to somebody else that's doing the same type of project? There's so many parts to risk, but that's the thing is that finding alpha is above returns. So you want to look at, there's a term that I highly recommend is look for asymmetrical risk. So if you look up that term, then you'll be able to do it.
Yeah, so asymmetrical risk is when you have better information than other people, and as a result, you can generate alpha as a result of having that information. And you typically want to build a track record as an investor or a fund manager or anybody who's in business so that you can point back to history how many times you've done that thing, whether it's buying and selling real estate or buying and selling companies. That track record becomes your future ability to raise capital and manage that money and look for what Vu was talking about there, which is asymmetrical risk. And a lot of that comes from your expertise, right? It goes hand in hand. So that asymmetrical risk with your expertise becomes the alpha that you're trying to generate, which leads to wealth.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is always the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have an incredible team that has a track record and has the connections and has all the inside information, because insider trading is okay in the private sector, then the chances are going to be higher. Like I know guys that invest in deals where they don't even know what they're really investing in.
But they trust the people.
Yeah, but the partners are putting money into it, right? I don't ever invest in anything unless other people that are doing it, they're putting their own money into.
Amen.
So that's important,
That's right.
right? So, all right, any last questions? Yes.
For each business category, what is your tickets average?
Can you repeat that?
Yes, I mean, for each business category, what is your tickets average?
The ticket average, like you're talking about for the investments? Typical investments go anywhere between $100,000 minimum and up. But there's certain types of fund structures where you could do a little bit less than that, right? Sometimes people raise $25,000, or if you take a company public, of course you could buy that at like pennies. So that's kind of like a broad question. But they're screaming at me and they're going to choke me out, and I think time's running out. But we're happy, and we're here all day for you guys to answer any questions, so come up to us and feel free. Like I think they did a tremendous amount. But let's all give each other a round of applause.
Thank you.